and then start to, then that's where the easy part kind of starts to, go up the learning curve, is why are we actually good at that? Hi, I'm Russ.
And I'm Danny.
And this is the Memory Makers Podcast.
The show focused on helping you create amazing customer experiences and make more memories.
The best part of waking up is Memory Makers Podcast.
In your phone.
In your phone.
That was the first time I've actually joined in on your jingle. So there
you go. Yes, it's working. It's working. That's what I'm talking about.
It only took 38 episodes.
Yeah. Danny and I were obviously chatting about like nostalgic jingles as we do sometimes, with the podcast intro, and that was what popped into my brain today. So oh man. How are you, brother? I'm loving the new vibes behind you today. Looking snazzy back there.
Yeah, it's the first episode we've recorded since I've redone my office. And I had the other kind of layout and look for years, and I was very over it. I was bored. I wanted something new. And so I went and redid the whole thing. Now, one of the questions that I've gotten is, since I've climbed Kilimanjaro recently, is a bunch of people have asked me, oh, is that Kilimanjaro behind you? I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah,
I wish it was, but I bought this before I even went on the trip. It's some nondescript mountain of some kind somewhere. I don't know. I bought it on Amazon. So
well, I'm digging the mood lighting. It's a very Lion King like sunrise coming up behind you, and you've got your mementos from Kili on the wall as well. So it's working, whatever it is, man. I love it.
And something that was pointed out this morning that I didn't realize, and it's a nice little happy accident because it's a warm light. If I look over at the gradient on the side of my little box here, it blends in really nicely with the color of my room now.
Well, you've officially permeated your subconscious with our branding after stewarding it for so many years. So
hey, you know what? That's always be branding.
That's right.
That's
just living it. Live the brand. Let's go.
All right, Russ, tell us what we're talking about in today's episode.
So today, what I thought would be really impactful for us to focus on is how are we actually creating memories in our centers with intentionality. And we've talked in some previous episodes with Mondo and on vivid vision and some different things, and we've actually highlighted a decision filter that CreativeWorks was using to make sure that our entire team was looking at things from a more consistent basis and a consistent frame of mind that we could use to make great decisions that are going to positively impact things. And so I was doing a little bit of a remix on that for our episode today because I thought, a lot of people can benefit from this. We talk about intentionality. How do we consistently execute on that? And shocker from us, we like a system and a process that can be duplicated, consistently and do the little things consistently well over time to get those extraordinary results. So I looked at how do we make that more consistent framework for the good that we seek to create, not only for our guests, but also for our business and the communities that we're in. And so I thought we'd start with the guests and look at when we're trying to be this place that people come to celebrate and escape. What are making the experiences that we offer actually memorable? And so some food for thought questions that as I was mulling this over was thinking more of, who are we actually trying to impact? So again, we can be intentional in putting ourselves in their shoes and how, things that we're trying to do are going to be received by the different folks that we're trying to impact. What's important to them in an experience, and where do we surprise and delight them, right? Because in order for that something to be memorable for a guest that's coming through, whether it's for their entire visit or a specific piece that they're doing while they're there, we need to be conscious of what decisions that we're making at the granular level are all culminating together to be able to make that impactful.
And I think it's important to point out, for clarity's sake, that when we say we're talking about the royal we. We're acting as if we are operators of an FEC or a location-based entertainment center. So we're trying to put this through the lens of any of our listeners that might be listening or watching this episode, just for clarity's sake. So that's really where
I know it's hard for me to shake our, party host days and game marshal days. So I still drop into that, even though I have not run a pizza out to a birthday party in a hot minute. So,
but I bet if you did it, you would be very skillful at it.
Well, I appreciate the confidence.
I don't think that muscle memory goes away. I think it sticks around. It's like riding a bike, right?
I can still get a group of 12-year-olds to play heads up 7-Up with the best of them. So,
yeah, I'm just imagining, I'm going to go on a tangent real quick. If you and I were to today together co-host a birthday party, and how fun and also wild that would be.
Yeah. Do you want our random birthday party package? Okay, great. Here's Russ and Danny, and they're going to, have a lot of different things coming at you from different directions. So just, strap in and ride the wave.
So you talked about surprising and delighting guests. And I think the next part of that is, what makes the attractions or any experience in your facility. We tend to view it through the lens of attractions because that's what Creative Works does. Mm-hmm. But anything that's in your facility can be considered an experience. What makes it good enough for a guest to want to come back and do it again and again and again? And when we look at attractions specifically, the things that we like to talk about is it story driven, is it social, and is it immersive? Mm-hmm. Is it one of those three, or hopefully two or all three of those things? Because the more that you can bring in those pillars, the more that it creates an experience that people want to have again and again. And then there's the idea of games that are easy to learn but difficult to master. And that, you think about at-home, in-home video games, and that's really what it's all built on. Is it's the easy to learn, difficult to master, skilling up as you go and getting better and better to beat that final boss, so to speak. How do we create that kind of experience within our attractions to be able to keep guests coming back again and again?
And I think that the final food for thought on what makes the attractions good enough to have people come back and do them again is, what is the personal touch that they're getting while they're doing this? And sometimes that's hard when it's, you're thinking about at a super zoomed in level of something like an arcade piece or something there of like, how do we put a personal touch on a Kong, VR experience that a lot of different centers have. But there are such opportunities of, that may be hey, let's zoom back out and say, how do we create all of the arcade experience? Are we looking for concierge or white glove level service? How do we roll out the red carpet at any point? Is that just any time that our staff are walking by guests? Are they getting a smile and a hello and a check-in? Like, thinking about where we can make this place of fun and excitement a place that the people feel that is an extension of themselves, right? Because that's ultimately what's going to get them to come back again and again, as well as if they feel comfortable and they feel like, oh, this place, I see myself here constantly. That white glove service and that attention to detail of caring is really a big difference maker. So what can we do at almost every aspect of our touch points with clients to have a little bit of secret sauce? And if it's something like a laser tag, right? Like, are we having fun with the briefs? Are we, are our staff actually kind of meeting that group where they are? Are they doing something different for a 9-year-old's birthday party on a Saturday morning versus a bachelor party or a church group on a, Sunday, youth group kind of a thing? Like, how are we always looking for ways to not just kind of deliver the script and check the boxes, so to speak, but being conscious and present with our guests while they're in our facility?
Yeah. And another way that I see that can be very, very impactful is, let's say you've got a lot of birthday parties. Well, every birthday kid should have some either pin or hat or sash that identifies them as the guest of honor, the birthday kid. And every time an employee sees that kid, they should high five them and say happy birthday and make it a big deal. Mm-hmm. Because if you're a 10-year-old kid and you're going through and there's all these strangers working at this FEC that all of a sudden just are high fiving you and telling you how awesome it is that it's your birthday, like, they're going to feel like a rock star.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that was cool is how do we recognize also the all-star guests that we have? And so akin to that of giving something that's special and unique to some of those rock stars. I was talking to an operator on the way back from Amusement Expo, and he was talking about with Lucky Putt that he's got, hey, I want to actually get, for someone who gets the all-time score on the leaderboard for a certain hole or for the course or for the day, I want to have actually like golden painted golf balls that then they bring back consistently every time. And that gives them like $5 off of their game every time that they play it because they got into that like super, awards points piece. And so again, using some of the video gamification of things, of giving out some badges, giving out some trinkets and some tokens, but also giving actual value to that. So if you're doing a birthday party and you have those kind of takeaways and things, like, do you have something that kid can come back again and again, or that the mom can use and say, hey, like, thank you so much for doing your birthday party here. We know that you've got a lot of different options to do this in a lot of places, but here's a gratitude piece that we want to pass on to you that you can use moving forward anytime that you come back. And it's a low cost, and especially in the grand scheme of things, of getting them to come back one or two more times than they otherwise normally would. It's such a just thinking about putting yourself in the shoes of the guest. And so I really loved that idea. So shout out to Zach Johnson for that, because it was, he is always looking for how do we take things up a notch. So I really appreciated that mindset from him.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
After we talk about guests, then the next thing that we wanted to look at this idea and ask some questions of ourselves and of our listeners is looking at the business and the team members that you have, right? Starting off, do you have a very clear vision of where you are going with the business and as a team? Does everybody understand that vision? Are they bought into the why? We've talked about why so many times on this podcast, but there's a reason for that. I think that it can be something that's overlooked. And when it comes to this kind of industry and these kinds of businesses, it's so easy to incorporate a why about celebrating together, escaping together, memories, fun, all of these things. It's so easy. It's a lot more difficult if you're a factory making widgets, right? It's a lot easier if you have this place that families and kids and adults love to come to. And so I think that identifying that vision, identifying that why, and clearly communicating it with a regular cadence very often to everyone on your staff is important, because I've mentioned this before, but one of the problems with communication is that we think it's happened. We can't just say something one time and expect everyone to understand it, internalize it, and live it. We have to do it and live it and speak it every single day of the week. And I think that's an important piece of this.
Well, and I think that also feeds into some other pieces that we've talked about in more depth, but do you have the culture that you want, or do you have the culture that you allow? And so if you don't have that vivid vision and you're not communicating the why, and sometimes that's super hard to do because you feel like you're drinking from the fire hose. You're just trying to keep the skis pointed downhill and, just going and you feel like you're up to your eyeballs in all of the working, in the business versus the on the business aspect. But again, we will beat this into the ground as far as this is such a fundamental aspect of the success of any business is you get the culture that you either curate or tolerate, right? And so if you're not actively over communicating, and doing that again and again and again, and your team isn't hearing hey, this is why we're doing what we're doing. This is where we want to go. Yes, this is the chaos of things right now, but this is what we're trying to work through to get towards, so that way we can do, more and more impactful things through this business, because we're in a very special opportunity to be able to be that force for good. And I think
Russ,
that
I wanted to add one thing about culture. This idea came to me the other day because people will often use the word culture. Mm-hmm. But if we take a step back and we say, well, what is how do you define the culture at your facility? How do you identify what it actually is? Because what someone says it is and what it really is could be two different things. And something that struck me recently, and I don't know where this came from, but I think culture is how your employees respond in stressful situations. That is the definition of your culture. It's really easy for everyone to do well when things are going well. Mm-hmm. But when things are difficult, when stress comes up, when you hit an obstacle, whatever it is, how you and your you and your staff members respond in that moment, that's what your culture is.
Yeah, that's
and I
the
thought that
big
was
litmus
really
test.
an interesting way to view it and an interesting way to measure it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that that's a great opportunity. So next time that the pizzas come out late and we see how our team responds to it, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And is that what we want? And how do we start to change the direction if it needs it? So
yeah,
good point.
Next time it's a busy Saturday and the internet goes down and your POS doesn't work. Gross. How do you respond? I'm just making up a situation, but yes.
Yes. Well, I'd imagine that you're perusing the Facebook operator groups based on that specific example. But yeah, that's always a fun, hey, guess what? Curveball. here we go. So also some other areas that I think are really important for us when we look at our business and our team members is, where do we need to be more profitable? What does our staffing costs look like? What is our overhead? We may not be able to change the terms of our lease and impact what our rent and all of that stuff is. So, it may not be hey, we need to cut costs. It may be that we need to spend a little bit more so that way we can get some exponential growth in some new profitable areas to reinvigorate the business. And so it's not always a game of subtraction when we look at that, measurable profitability aspect of things. Sometimes you've actually got to double down a little bit more, and there's some different ways that can be really impactful. And the final piece that came to mind as we were looking at how we impact our business and our team members is, hey, start off easy. Give yourself some grace. What are we really good at? Like, what do we consistently do well every single time? And then start to, then that's where the easy part kind of starts to, go up the learning curve is, why are we actually good at that, right? What do we have in place? Is it people? Is it culture? Is it a process? Is it a system? What are the trademark elements of that we can identify that feed into that success? And so how then can we take those successful factors and apply to other areas where we're not as high and tight as we need to be, right? Like how do we duplicate and replicate some of those success factors of, hey, we're really good at doing things like we always get outstanding responses on our staff engagement and our bathrooms, all of that good stuff. Why is that? Are we training that differently than what we're where we're seeing other areas that need improvement? Is there something specific that we're doing here that is contributing to success? And it's also going to be, as Danny and I like to say, you're going to turn knobs and levers and and dials as you go, because what you think may be that factor of success may be what it is, or it may be a partial aspect of it. And so that is a discovery process that you have to go through with some trial and error to find what is really resonating at that high level. And one last bonus piece as we're talking about this is, where do we need to be more flexible, right? For all that we talk about here of, hey, have those systems, have those procedures, all of that, just like we talked about with, the curveballs and things. How are we making sure that our team feels comfortable and confident in order to pivot and adjust when things come out of left field?
Yeah. Know the black and the white so you can live in the gray.
Oh, I like that phrase. Who uses that phrase?
Maybe Russ.
Yeah, oh, that's why I like it. Okay.
There it is.
Well, and I'll kick it over to you for this last section of a good kind of decision filter process that folks can use, Danny.
Yeah, we started with guests, then we went to the business and team members, and we want to finish up with the community. The community that you're in, whether it's one because you have a single location or multiples in the same community, or whether it's multiple communities because you have locations in different cities or different states. It's important to ask the question, how are we regularly giving back to the community that we're a part of? Are we known as a giver? Do we feel connected? Do our teams feel connected to that kind of work that we do? How are we participating in local philanthropic efforts? And, one of the things that I wanted to mention here is that at Creative Works, we have a theme every single year. And in 2024, our theme is hero. And here's the reason why we identified that as our theme. You listening to this podcast, you who operate or going to be operating a location-based entertainment center, the work you do matters. Your business is more than just making a profit. You create a place where people celebrate together. You create a place where people escape together. You create a place where people create lasting memories that they'll remember with their friends and their family. the work you do matters. And because of that, you are a hero to your community because of the things that you do. And I think this theme is really important because it taps into the idea of identity. Who are you? What is your identity as a business owner and as a member of your community? And if you can view that through the lens of, well, I want to be a hero to my community, it will help inform the kinds of experiences that you create. It will help you inform the kinds of organizations that you want to participate in, the philanthropic efforts that you want to give back to, and the way that you want to show up in your community to show everybody that you're not just a business, you're more than that. And that goes back to the vision, that goes back to the why, that's part of your identity, that's our theme. I think that kind of really ties that stuff together. So for me, I'm super excited about the hero theme because I think it's something that will resonate so deeply with so many people in this industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a great spot for us to wrap up, based on what we're looking at with all of this. So thank you very much for your insights today, Danny. I appreciate it. And thank you all for giving us your time and being heroes in your community. What you do matters, as Danny said, and that we genuinely believe that. We get to be a real force for good. So as we hope to continue to be a force for good within our industry with this podcast, be sure to come back and check us out for the weekly episodes. As you guys have seen, we've been adding more guests and different insights and things like that, so we're excited to share more with you down the road.
If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.
And we always appreciate those 5 stars. Please and thank you.
If you've got ideas for future episode topics or guests that you want to see, follow us on social media and send us a DM.
And as always, big shout out to Mikey Mike on the 1s and 2s and working the ultrawebs, whichever you prefer. Both are incorrect, so you can't make a bad decision there. But thank you, Mikey Mike, and we will catch you on the next episode, Troublemakers. Sorry, maybe a little slapdash today. We went to bed at like 3:45, 3:50 this morning.
I'll let you do teaser while I'm going to go fill up my coffee.
Okay. Or is it Folgers, Danny? From the jingle? Are you living the brand even within the microcosm of the episodes? Of course you're not. You're already getting your Folgers. We'll just say you're getting your Folgers.
I was thinking about like podcasts and webinars and how sometimes we'll say, all right, let's go to the video and check that out. I thought to myself, roll that beautiful bean footage. Fun fact, I've been to the Bush's Baked Beans factory in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And they have like a whole tour you can do. And it's like, they have like it's like a whole thing that you can do. And that was the day, not there, but later that evening is when I proposed to Michelle.
Oh,
after we went to the Bush's Baked Bean factory.
Well, you're starting your marriage journey off with some good fiber. So we like that.
I am ready if you are, Mike.